I want to remind you, as a Heisman voter, okay, and I'm not saying that to say, oh, well, look at me, I'm a Heisman voter. But I am telling you that I have not made one single conclusion about who will be in my top three. And you only get 3 votes. So I don't know who 1, 2, or 3 is, and nobody's done enough to be in the top 3 to this point. You do not win the Heisman in October. You win it in November. That being said, it is heating up a little bit. So the guy that I didn't think would remain at the top has indeed remained at the top. Oregon quarterback Dylan Gabriel, according to BetMGM, is a plus 225. Miami quarterback Cam Ward, plus 275. Okay, Colorado wide receiver defensive back Travis Hunter, plus 400. He has no chance because a lot of the media is unfairly going to not like his coach. And I don't know if you saw this, but Deion Sanders came out and said, who cares about the Heisman? Well, yeah, maybe Travis did, but now you just completely submarined any opportunity he has to win it. He may be the best player in college football, but he has no chance to win it because of some media members. I think that'll be a little bit petty. Then Ashton Jeanty at plus 425. I can go all the way down to Alabama quarterback Jalen Milroe at plus 5,000. And guess who's not on there? Dylan Sampson. And I honestly just want to ask the question, why? Why is Dylan Sampson not among those considered to be eligible or to be able to win the Heisman? That's part one. And then part two, is there anything that he can do to change that?
So part one is it is stats based, and I think nowadays running backs that are in the Heisman race have to put up those Ashton Jeanty numbers. Look, I don't think Ashton Jeanty would be in the Heisman race if he's not just putting up insane numbers, he's putting up insane by insane standard numbers. Does that make sense? It's like, because he has now I'm going to get to his competition in a minute, but
okay, and I want to take a closer look at his numbers too. But go ahead.
Yes. But insane by insane standard numbers, Ashton Jeanty is setting records left and right. And one of the arguments that's being made, that's actually a fair one, is he's putting up way better numbers than Reggie Bush did in 2005, and Reggie Bush won the Heisman. There's a big stink that he never should have lost his Heisman. And
well, that's a bad comparison because he was more of an all-purpose back.
Yes, I agree. But the debate is overall, Reggie Bush's level of competition was hardly better than Ashton Jeanty's is now. I mean, Reggie Bush won the Heisman because what was Reggie Bush's Heisman moment in 2005, Dave? Do you remember?
Pushing Lindell White into the end zone?
No, it was the record-setting game they had against Fresno State.
Okay.
Well, Fresno State's a Mountain West team now. What conference is Boise State in? The Mountain West.
Right.
So the argument is, if you're going to do this for Reggie Bush, you can't hold it against Ashton Jeanty. That would be a fair argument. I just come on the other side that Reggie Bush never should have won that Heisman. Vince Young should have won that Heisman running away. Vince Young was by and large the best player in college football that year, and I don't even think it was close.
That Reggie Bush award, you have to remember, this is before the two teams played in the national championship game. That Reggie Bush was one of the few times that it felt like the best the quarterback on the best team. You know what I mean? It almost felt, because you couldn't give it to Ken Dorsey, right? So,
well, Ken Dorsey was 2001.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. I know what you're saying. You couldn't give
it to Ken Dorsey. So you couldn't give it to, I mean, you got me confused now. Who's the quarterback with Lindell White and
Matt Leinart?
Okay, Matt Leinart. I guess you could give it to Matt Leinart.
But Matt Leinart got it the year before.
Right. Okay, so you couldn't give it to him because the year before.
Right.
But let's look for a second at Ashton Jeanty's numbers. Okay. Ashton Jeanty is averaging 196.5 yards per game in Boise State. Okay. And I want you to break down his competition. Now, what's more impressive? Now, that is 50 yards per game better than second place in the nation. Okay. Now, Dylan Sampson is averaging right at 120 yards per game in the SEC. which until Jarquez Hunter went off was about 25 yards per game better than anybody else in the SEC. Now it's about a dozen yards better than Hunter. So my question is to you, what's more impressive, dominating the SEC or dominating the group of bozo teams that Boise State has played?
Obviously dominating the SEC. So what you would have to do, and I'll break down the numbers real quick, is you would have to make the case for Jeanty over Sampson, you would have to say that Jeanty's numbers are so incredible that, put it this way, Dave, it's kind of like, you know, when you play NCAA football, have you ever just gone on easy mode to see how much you could win by?
Yes.
Sometimes, okay, if you go on easy mode, now you better win by 100, but if you do, you do get credit for being able to win by 100, right? At that point.
Yes.
Yeah, it's kind of like that. And so it's one of those where Ashton Jeanty is doing, yes, he has easy competition, but he's doing theoretically the max you could do against easy competition, theoretically. But I disagree. And I'm with you. What Dylan Sampson is doing is more impressive. Let me just give you, by easy competition standards, Ashton Jeanty is playing easy teams at an incredibly alarming rate. He has played one
easy, Caleb.
He's played six. He's played one FCS school, 6 FBS schools. So one of his yardage totals are against an FCS school. I think even if it's Tennessee, whoever, you play an FCS school, you throw they shouldn't even count those stats. Is that fair at this point?
I'm completely fine with that. You should pull them all out, but they made the decision to include all stats, including bowl games, about 20 years ago because it sounded good for people to break records.
Exactly. So, all right. So there's that. The FBS team rankings and rush defense: 132, 116, 123, 64, and 63. That's 5 of the 6 FBS teams they've played, Dave, Ashton Jeanty. Now, this past weekend, they played UNLV, who was number 30 in rush defense. And Ashton Jeanty is getting a lot of credit for 128 yards. Want to know how many yards per carry Ashton Jeanty actually averaged against UNLV?
No, but I'm interested.
3.9. He's getting credit. That's the only top 50 rush defense he's faced all year. And he couldn't average 4 yards a carry. That's got to be held against him, right?
You would think so. And I will tell you this, too. When I watch Ashton Jeanty, and I've made this comparison before with Dylan Sampson, it to me is Barry Sanders and Emmitt Smith. Jeanty is a little bit more of an electric runner, but I'll take the guy that maximizes every run, turns 5-yard blocking into 6 or 7 yards, turns 9-yard blocking into 11 or 12 yards, turns a no-gain blocking, because Lance Hurd let somebody come in on the inside, B-gap. He turns that into a 1-yard run. So I think Dylan Sampson will have a better future in the NFL than Ashton Jeanty. I will say this. When you watch them, the two backs, one looks like a power back that's a little small, and the other looks to me like an electric elusive back. That's not to say that's going to transfer to the NFL, or that the Heisman should be based off that. I'm just throwing my eye test out there.
So what you're saying is, and I'm going to get back to Dylan Sampson and his competition too in a moment, but it kind of reminds me of like Jamal Lewis was like Barry Sanders and Travis Henry was like Emmitt Smith, right? Travis Henry wasn't as elusive, but he loved contact, didn't he?
Yes. Yeah. Like if I had to go to war with Jamal Lewis or Travis Henry, I'm going to war with Travis Henry.
Yes, I agree.
But if I'm putting together a team on Madden, then I'm going to go with Jamal Lewis because I know that I can hold down that turbo button and I'm not personally afraid of contact.
That's a Bo Jackson type of that's that Tecmo Bowl, right? Game with Bo Jackson. Yeah.
I mean, I would rather go to war with Dylan Sampson than any other running back in the nation that I've seen this year. And I don't even see a really close second. And I include that with Jeanty. Listen, he's an electric runner. The records that he could break are unbelievable. When you start including Barry Sanders, those are the records he could break, that's unbelievable. And that deserves a lot of attention. But that doesn't mean you are the best running back in the nation. And that certainly doesn't mean you're the best player in the nation. Caleb, I would argue that aside from somebody doing something incredible, like it's happened at Alabama with the receiver who suddenly escapes me, won it, like might
Ryan
happen
Williams?
with. Go ahead.
Ryan Williams?
Yes.
No, wait, you're talking about the Devontae Adams.
No, Devontae
Smith.
Yeah.
Devontae Smith.
Or if Jeanty does something incredible, it needs to be a quarterback award because they have more pressure on them than anybody else.
Okay, so let me throw this out to you further because there are going to be some peripheral fans. Again, and I want to insist this. He's played one top 50 team all year defensively, one top 50 rush defense all year. And he failed to average 4 yards a carry. That's elimination right there. Isn't it, Dave? Like, if you're going to be running back and be special, you have to be special against at least the only bit of competition you ever face, don't you?
Totally agree.
And so now let's bring up Dylan Sampson's numbers because the peripheral will be like, oh, well, Tennessee has played some bad rush defenses too. Well, they have. They played NC State, who's number 84 in rush yards per carry allowed. They played Kent State, who's number 133 in rush yards per carry allowed. Let me give you some other ones they played. Oklahoma, the number 4 ranked rush defense in the nation, 4th in fewest rush yards per carry allowed. Alabama, 32nd in fewest rush yards per carry allowed. Florida and Arkansas are both top 50. So Dylan Sampson's played 4 top 50 teams. And here's the key, Dave, and this is what we're not even talking about enough. Dylan Sampson's getting better as the year's going on. The competition's getting stiffer, and Dylan Sampson's still getting better. Did you know that over the weekend, he had 5.3 yards per carry 2 weekends ago against Alabama? 5.3 yards per carry, 26 carries for 139 yards, and 2 touchdowns. That was against a defense that's almost exactly the same stats-wise as UNLV's defense. By the way, that means Alabama's rush defense is way better, doesn't it? Given the fact that Alabama's playing better competition.
Yes.
And Dylan Sampson averaged 1.4 more yards per carry. So Dylan Sampson against better competition is doing significantly better. Dylan Sampson's worst game all year, by the way, is against Oklahoma. He had 24 carries for 92 yards. That's 3.8 yards per carry. That's 0.1 yard less than Jeanty's 3.9 yards per carry against UNLV. Well, Oklahoma's got the 4th ranked rush defense in the nation. UNLV's number 30. So again, when you adjust for competition, Dylan Sampson's actually outperforming Ashton Jeanty. And at that point, we got to ask the question, I'm kind of with you. Isn't Dylan Sampson better than Ashton Jeanty? And now the fair point is, I think Ashton Jeanty hurt his Heisman chances last week by not balling against UNLV. But
okay, let me ask you this though. What's more impressive? 8.6 yards per carry against that Boise State schedule, which Ashton Jeanty has done. It's a nice number. Or 5.8 against SEC competition with a passing game that hasn't found itself, and you've been largely one-dimensional.
5.8. Particularly when Ashton Jeanty has padded his stats against, again, his 4 games, the 4 games in which he has averaged double-digit yard. Basically, he's padding his stats because of Georgia Southern, Portland State, Washington State, and Utah State, where in all of those games, Dave, he averaged 10 or more yards per carry. But that was against an FCS school and 3 FBS schools that are outside of the top 110 in rush yards allowed per carry.
Yep. Today's top comment comes from Adam. Sanders never really took the beating that some less elusive guys took, but if they're all in peak form, Sanders doesn't ensure a gain every carry. Let me go ahead and tell you, Barry Sanders is the most overrated player in the history of the NFL.
This is the Cowboy fandom.
No, it's really not. It's really not. I would take Gerald Riggs Sr. over Barry Sanders in some offenses. Listen, that he set them up for a lot of not manageable third downs.
But Dave, can I ask you this question?
Mm-hmm.
Don't you think Barry Sanders would have run a little bit harder if he felt that he had a team willing to, a franchise willing to give him a little more help to win?
I don't know. A dancer's a dancer.
I mean, it's just, because I look at, I've seen this with running backs before. I've seen this with other players before. Where it's why would I put my body on the line for, I'm seeing my Titans do it now. I think the defense is starting to quit on the team, and they should. I've encouraged them to quit on the team because you should quit on a franchise that won't help you. You know, this is where you see like a, you know, where you get back to a Dylan Sampson. I mean, you've covered Tennessee running backs, haven't you? That kind of, they were part of really bad teams, and they're like, why am I going to really risk my body for this team?
Rick Terry Jewelry Design. They want to be your jeweler looking for affordable game day jewelry, a Tennessee tradition at rickterryjewelry.com. Also, tomorrow we will be giving away this fantastic looking helmet. And let me reach back and get it. It's autographed by who? He's running across your screen. Dylan Sampson. It's a mini autographed helmet by Dylan Sampson. Thanks to our friends at Sports Treasures. Over 5 million sports treasures in North Knoxville for over 35 years. All you have to do, there's the QR code. Join Hooker's Corner for increased recruiting coverage, more interaction with me and Caleb Calhoun, and you will be registered to win that Dylan Sampson helmet, which we will give away on Friday. Also registered to win a Garmin watch, thanks to Rick Terry. Rick Terry's Great 8 Garmin Challenge, just $9.98 a month. When we hit 8,000 subscribers, we'll give away that Garmin to one of our Hooker's Corner subscribers. So be a part of the program. We certainly appreciate that. And tomorrow we'll visit with one Will West. I want to remind you, the UPS store Hardin Valley, helping individuals and small businesses, wide range of products and services, locally owned and operated. The link is right down below. And I would be remiss to say, if I haven't said so before, Asia Cafe. Treat yourself to authentic Asian cuisine, handcrafted from guarded family recipes. 5 locations to choose from. AsiaCafe.org. And they have the Brazilian Cocoa Energy Booster Premix instant white coffee that is absolutely phenomenal. So, Caleb, if I ask you right now, you've got 3 spots for your Heisman voting list, poll, whatever you want to call it, but you're putting them in there. These are your votes, and it's Last Look, brought to you by Campbell, Cunningham, Taylor, and Hahn. Look at me, no contacts, no glasses. Who's your top 3? I'll tell you as a Heisman voter. Caleb will tell you as perhaps a future Heisman voter.
To visit cctis.com. The information you need is easy to access, and setting an appointment is as simple as clicking the tab. Doctors Campbell, Cunningham, Taylor, and Hahn, and Eye Care Optical at cctis.com. Simply the best.
Who would be your top 3, Caleb?
Cam Ward, Travis Hunter, Dylan Gabriel is my top 3 right now.
Okay. Do you know what my answer is?
What?
I'm not doing it. It is not November yet.
I mean, yes, that's fair. By the way, I have to address something because Dave is just an Emmitt Smith worshiper. He has a heart-shaped picture of Emmitt Smith underneath his bed every night, and once his wife goes to sleep, he pulls it out and he's like,
"What do I do with it then?" That's
what'd you say?
What do I do with it then?
But
Emmitt.
You know who did not hold Emmitt Smith in high regard?
Who?
Steve Spurrier. When Smith was debating whether or not to turn pro, Emmitt was really wanting to come back to Florida, but he was thinking about his future, and he was asking Spurrier how he would fit in the offense. And Spurrier basically finally at one point said, "Are you going to make your decision or not? Because I got to know what to do with this roster."
Okay, well, then do you think that Lane Kiffin didn't like Eric Berry? Because he told him to go.
Well, Lane Kiffin had Eric Berry for a year and loved him. Steve Spurrier, this was his first year at Florida. He never coached Emmitt Smith. And all he said was, this was when Steve Spurrier was new to the team. And he said, "Are you going to make your decision or not?"
Well, I'll give you this. Emmitt was far better because of the team around him than just his talent. I'll give you that, hands down. But I think there are a lot of backs that would have been more productive in the type of system that typically does better for running backs. Now, you can knock on the Lions all you want, but I think it's more than just that, Caleb. I think he was dancing around a lot. Barry Sanders was. Maybe he was unsure of the holes, whatever reason. I think Jeanty could be that type of back. Chattanooga Mortgage, congratulations. Your home search just got easier. Buying a home in Chattanooga has never been easier. Chat Mortgage with 2 T's, chatmortgage.com. And I thank them because they helped me improve my credit to make that home purchase. And Caleb, at the end of the day, if you had a bet on Sampson or Jeanty having a better pro career, who would you bet on?
actually Sampson, because Jeanty will get drafted higher, and running backs don't want to get drafted in bad situations in the NFL. The NFL, I mean, I hate to sound like cliche, but like the offensive line makes the run game is 90% of the run game in the NFL. I mean, it's even more in college. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, it's Sampson, and I don't know that Sampson won't get drafted higher because he's a better all-around back. But again, that's all running backs are kind of taken with a grain of salt, for lack of a better analogy, because of the way the NFL is structured now.
And Dave, you know this because someone just brings it up. Like Herschel Walker probably was a better running back than Emmitt Smith, right? But the Cowboys had no offensive line in the 80s.
No, Herschel had no lateral.
He was vertical.
The biggest difference between him and Bo Jackson is Herschel straight ahead was maybe as fast and as good. Probably not. I'm halfway through Bo Jackson's book, but there was just no comparison when it came to opening up hips and going different ways. And Herschel was straight ahead, buddy. And if that was a brick wall in front of him, he was going to run into that brick wall and he wasn't going to sidestep it.